has accused Ian Wright of blocking opportunities for female pundits in women's football. Yeah, she took aim at the Arsenal legend. She says, I've worked with Ian a long time, and I think he's a brilliant broadcaster, but I think he's aware of just how much he's doing in the women's game. I think he should be aware of that. The fact of the matter is there's a limited amount of spaces available. If we had a situation where there was an equal opportunity in the men's game for broadcasters and coaches that there is in the women's game, it's a free for all. But that's not the case. I can't dominate the men's game in that way. You used Ian as an example. I can't dominate the men's game in the way that, you used Ian as an example. And you see me, I'm thinking sometimes, yeah, if you've got nothing good to say nothing at all. Because there's already a lot of people that think that women shouldn't be in the men's game, and especially black women. Like that's already a stigma, because it's like we've got this stigma of there's not a lot of black like representation on TV and in football. Yeah. So I'm seeing this as a situation of Ian Wright is the type of person that every single time he gets a chance to talk about the women's game, he does. He's a public figure. He's a big football pundit and big football figure that is on all the big podcasts. That's one of the legends of the England game, especially as a black man. Me personally, she's a black woman. All Ian Wright ever does is talk about the women's game every opportunity he gets. And what does ENI ALUKO do? Decides to go at Ian Wright. For what? To make now what you've created, you're gonna start creating people like me talking about you. Because now now what you do, you put yourself in the firing line for people like me to start saying to you, why are you talking about Ian Wright in that way? Well, let's look at your credentials then. Why you're even on the men's game? Because you're talking about Ian Wright shouldn't be in the women's game, like as if to say like you don't need that spotlight. Everyone always talks about how you need the women's spotlight, and Ian Wright does that. He brings all the spotlight to the women's game. The women's game needs as much help as it can get from all the public figures, including the men. So why you feel the need to go at Ian Wright when all he does is bring, like, obviously there's things behind the scenes that we don't know about. Maybe they're not getting on behind the scenes and stuff like that. But to me, I just see it as like there's like a pick your battles. Pick your battle. This ain't a battle that you should be battling and you're gonna win. Because if Ian Wright decides to say, you know what, maybe I am taking too much of the limelight of the women's game, and maybe I'm like one of the representation, but maybe I shouldn't be, and he takes a step back, that's a loss for the women's game. Don't get it twisted. Don't start getting too comfortable thinking that people like Ian Wright are not needed to promote the women's game. When Phil Neville decided to take the women's England team job, the head coach, he brought a lot of eyes to the women's game, because me personally, I wanted to see if he could bring like his experience and his know-how to the women's game, and if they could get them playing football a certain way. So me, that's one extra set of eyes that are watching the women's game, because I don't watch the women's game. So when Phil Neville took over, I started watching it to maybe say, oh, okay. Like, for example, like Reece James's sister, Lauren James. When I heard that she's really doing what she's doing, I'm hearing about her technique and stuff. I thought, let me go and have a little look at how good she is and stuff like that. ENI ALUKO is picking the wrong battles. And now all you're going to do now is alienate yourself, because you've decided to go against Ian Wright when all he does is put spotlight. A lot of the time when I watch like the overlap or I watch him on the podcast, he always brings up the women's game all the time. All the time, this guy brings up the women's game. I don't understand why she felt the need to go and say something about Ian Wright on the women's game. I don't understand that. I need to know why she done that. So now what you've done, you've decided to say you've gone against Ian Wright, and going against Ian Wright at this point is like basically saying we don't want the men in the women's game, basically. Because a lot of men already don't want women in the men's game. So it's already hard for women anyway. It's already hard for women anyway. So why are you making it harder? What's the reason why you're making it harder? Why do you need to say you don't want Ian Wright? Which means if you say you don't want Ian Wright in the men's game, you're not just saying you want Ian Wright in the men's game. You're also saying you don't want men dominating the women's game, which if that's the case, fair enough. But what's your solution to it? Is your solution that women should stay in the women's game and men should stay in the men's game? What is your solution to that? Because you're saying you think he's dominating it. Well, there's a lot of people that think you shouldn't even be commentating on the women's game or be a pundit on the men's game. Sorry, A lot of people think that ENI ALUKO should not be commentating on the men's game. So now you're going to say, oh yeah, Ian Wright should stick to the men's game, basically. So what all you're doing now is dividing. You're just dividing people. For what? Because you feel like what, that you're not getting enough limelight, or what, the women's game needs women representation. That's basically what you're saying. So in my head, I'm seeing it as counterproductive. I'm seeing it as a step in the wrong direction. Do you know what I'm saying? And I think you're going against a guy that all he does is promote the women's game. Like, sometimes he makes sure he mentions it, and sometimes I'm watching it, I'm thinking he's done that on purpose, like to make sure he brings some light to it and shed some light to it. But ENI ALUKO decides, oh, I'm going to have my own personal thing because maybe I'm not getting... It's about whether it's about opportunity for you personally or whether you actually care about the women's game as a whole. Do you know what I'm saying? But to me, I just thought it was a battle that you don't need to be trying to win, because it's not a battle that's even a fair battle right now. Because loads of people, loads of men especially, think women shouldn't be in the men's game. So you saying this is pointless. Like, I don't know what point you're making. You're making a point for no reason, basically. You're even making people like me do a video on it in a negative way. Obviously, I don't have to do the video, but I am. Well, I don't understand her point, man. It's annoying. It's annoying. Like, just be quiet, innit? Just keep your mouth closed, innit? It's annoying. Because you're saying stuff for no reason. The women's game needs all the help it can get. You know what I'm saying? Because already we look at the standard and we think, okay, it's not that entertaining to watch. It's not, the standard doesn't seem too high. So it needs all the help it can get. The grounds are never full. They're playing on full-size pitches when they should probably make it a little bit smaller. They're playing on full-size goals when they should probably make that a little bit smaller. They don't get as much attention. They don't get as much money. They don't get any help. But now, all of a sudden, you want to start talking about Ian Wright in the way. In the way of what? In the way of what? How's he in the way? He ain't in the way. He's putting all the... Furthermore, it might even be more of a... It might make more sense to have him on the women's game than you, because he's bringing way more attention to it. So if I'm a broadcaster and I'm saying, oh, who should we have in it? Should we have ENI ALUKO or Ian Wright? If it's purely for numbers and for attention and eyes on the game, I'll pick Ian Wright. Do you know what I'm saying? So you need to keep your mouth closed sometimes. Sometimes, like my nan used to always say, my mum say, if you ain't got nothing good to say, don't say anything at all. And this is the reason why. Now, if you go and get backlash now from this, no one can start complaining. Because you see me, like, I try to keep it a little bit like fair, because it's a young black woman and I don't really want to be going at women kind of thing. But you've created a back and forth for no reason, all because of a random situation that you're going through, and then you feel like, oh yeah, Ian Wright is not good. He needs to be careful. He's dominating women's football coverage. So who should be dominating it then? If he's dominating women's football, who should it be? Should it be a woman? Is that what you're saying? It should be a woman that dominates it. If you're saying it should be a woman that dominates it, then you're basically saying women should stick to the women's game and men should stick to the men's game. And to me, a lot of men think like that anyway. So you saying that, you don't need to be saying that unless you believe that. If you believe that, then say that. Don't say Ian Wright is dominating. Just say women should stick to the women's game and men should stick to the men's game. And if that does happen, believe the women's game is going to go downhill. So me personally, I think you should just keep your mouth closed and say nothing. But she's decided to open her mouth, and this is the reason why I'm doing a video on it anyway. So, but big up Ian Wright 10 times, man, because he brings attention to that to the women's game all the time. All the time he does that. He always talks about the women's football, always talks about the women's game, the Arsenal women, the England team. He always does that. So he's inclusive. He's an inclusive guy. So I don't feel like you should be going at him for no reason, innit? So big him up 10 times. ENI ALUKO, sometimes just keep your mouth closed, man. Not everything that comes to your mind you have to say. You know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, that was a random thought that I had, innit? So I just thought I'd share it.